Alright, you started early. But we're going to cut out from there. This is Cash In with Cavaliere. We're going to be starting off a new segment here every week. On Thursdays, we're going to release an interview with somebody that I did an interview with who I feel that has really gone through a lot of struggles in life and allowed themselves to not only persevere through their struggles, but allow themselves to make the stepping stones towards their success, and has, in my opinion, succeeded on every day when he wakes up and decides to hit that keyboard again. But this is Matty Beats here. I have known him for about a year. He has dumbfounded me with music and taught me more things about music than I thought were actually true. Absolutely. He's also the one that has done my intros and outros onto my beats. Onto my videos. So if you have heard them before in the past, I definitely do appreciate you very much for doing those there. But before we jump into anything here, is there anything in particular that you'd really like to start off? Anything you'd really like to say?
Just that I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, I know motivation, trying to do things on your own is very difficult, so I'm always looking for outlets and resources to help me in that sense of things. But so I think that's really where you come into play. So you've definitely helped me as well, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. I definitely do. And kind of starting things off, I mean, naturally, I always like to really know, because I know you've moved around a lot, but like specifically, I mean, where are you really from? Like, where do you consider yourself's homeland?
I would say my hometown is the Boston area. That's where I grew up for most of my life. I know you're a Boston native, so that'll appeal to you. But right now, I'm living outside of the Philadelphia area. I actually grew up in Maryland, but Boston's really where my heart is for sure.
Excellent, man. And now, with that being said, I mean, being from like all these different areas and growing up, I mean, how do you feel that has really affected not only like the different groups of music that you kind of found yourself listening to? Because I'm sure that those type of friendships were always different in different areas. Do you think that was something that really benefited towards your success that you've been able to really put together here these past years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, initially moving around a lot, it didn't seem like it was beneficial because there's so many hurdles you have to jump through when you're moving around a lot. But when you move around, you have to get acclimated to different cultures, find new friends. So I think it really helped me in, first of all, networking and just social environments, being able to talk to people, things of that nature. But also you just catch a lot of different influences because you're not always in the same place. You're exposing yourself to different environments. And I think that's really how you learn. One of the things I think that's really resonated with me is really to get yourself out of your comfort zone is the only time you're actually learning. If you're just putting yourself in the same atmospheres, then you're not exposing yourself to new things. So that would be my insight on that.
I love it. I totally agree with you there. I mean, personally, there was something that was said to me when I was a kid, and it was, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. If you're uncomfortable, you're allowing yourself to be more comfortable with other things, which just then means you need to continue to grow and be more uncomfortable. So it's a full circle. I mean, you're never done. You're never, obviously, if there's no such thing as perfect, there's a job never that's been completed. So there can always be something done better. There can always be something that looked back and can be corrected. So I mean, with that being said, and really kind of growing your musical kind of encyclopedia, if you will, throughout your own life, I mean, what has been really one of the biggest things that has motivated you to decide not only to do music, but to become a producer and really follow that passion thoroughly?
Yeah, great question, actually. I mean, the biggest thing for me was when I just envisioned myself doing the stereotypical, do this, corporate this, the typical path people always put out as the ideal. I could just never see myself doing it because in the back of my head, I always knew what I loved. My passion was always music. So that was always the big thing for me. I mean, motivation, just knowing what you want to do, what you love, that was really the first step for me. Once you find that, that's really all the motivation I needed from that point.
I love it. Nothing can burn fire harder than your own fire in your chest. I fucked that up, but it's okay. And with that being said, I mean, obviously my next question was going to be, like, is there another passion that you do have? But I mean, it sounds like no matter which passion you may be looking at, it sounds like it's all around music. I mean, I know that making beats is something you really like, and I know there's a lot of instruments in there.
Yeah, and let me explain that too. I guess, so what I actually do, my passion is just music in general, but I grew up playing guitar, and that's kind of what exposed me to music initially, but what I actually do is music production, so like the background music you hear on the radio, things like that, I'll compose the music and then sell it to artists, whether they're rappers or singers, and they'll actually record their lyrics over it. So it's cool because like you're a one-man band. I literally control every instrument: kick, snares, guitars, orchestras, whatever it might be. You have control of all of that, so it's pretty cool from that aspect. But that's actually what I do for clarification, I guess.
I like that, and a lot of people may not know really what a producer is. I know
100%.
a lot of the times especially when I was a kid, I was like, I don't understand what an executive producer is.
They always have these formal terms for the most basic jobs, just to make them sound more professional. But that's what it is. If you didn't know.
I love it, man. Thank you for the clarification too. Sure. And with that being said, I mean, is there any instrument that, like, I know you said you started, which really introduced you as the bass? Is there any instrument that you really, like, it didn't matter and you were freaking Dr. Dre 3 years from now, living it up, driving around in your Lamborghini? I mean, is there an instrument that you just go home and say, I just want to go home and play blank?
Oh, for sure. Guitar is my bread and butter. That's what, I mean, like I said, what really got me into music. The cool thing about guitar is the tonality of it. You can actually bend the pitch of the strings, which is a kind of unique aspect of the guitar. A lot of other instruments, piano, different things, you can't actually bend the pitch, so you can kind of extrapolate like more soul and feeling and express that through the pitch bends, which probably makes no sense to anyone, but I'm just a nerd on this stuff and I love it. But guitar, for sure.
I love it. And the one thing I think everybody can really relate to is hearing the soul, because I feel like that's why we all listen to music, is the way it makes us feel, whether it's happy, whether it's crying after a breakup, whatever it may be. I think that being able to play those instruments properly and being able to really rip out the soul out of all of us and really be in that universe of being one when you were, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you guys have gone to concerts. I know you've been to a bunch of concerts on your own. But with that being said, I mean, there's like this moment where everyone's kind of feeling the exact same way. And I think that's really cool, and I really think that's really a magical thing to be able to bring to other people, and I'm sure that's also another piece that you love when you're on stage and everybody's feeling it.
Definitely, man. Yeah, that's obviously the ultimate goal for sure.
I love it. And like, is there anything in particular that you would tell to anyone watching, any aspiring producers, anybody that's just trying to be in this type of, trying to break their way into this type of business?
Not even like specific to being a producer, but I think the turning point for me was looking at this like a business. It's literally my passion. I would do it for free regardless, but obviously to make things happen, to do it for a living, you have to make money off of it. So the business aspect wasn't as appealing to me, but I knew that was a sacrifice, or a requirement rather, to actually make a living and do this full time. So it's just so overwhelming, just trying to manage everything literally yourself, because like I think we were talking about this earlier.
We were, yeah.
Yeah, typical job, you have a manager, they say do this, do this, do that. Obviously, when you're an entrepreneur or sole proprietor, you don't have people telling you that. You have to come up with all of it yourself. So I think what really helped me literally the most, I'm a kind of spontaneous personality. I never really planned things, wasn't big on agendas. But what I've been doing is literally wake up a half an hour earlier, set out your goals, short-term goals for that day, what you want to accomplish, goals over the next week, goals over the next month, goals over the next year. Literally, if you just write that down every day, you'll ingrain that into your head and everything will become much more clear in terms of what you need to do. As far as so many things being overwhelming, so many things to do, trying to kind of break it down in a more granular fashion, little goals in the big goals kind of helps as well. But that would, I guess, be my insight on that.
I love it. This man has skipped questions. But no, I mean, my next question was going to be how is one of the things that you've turned around your success from being somebody that's making $20 a year maybe off of a beat versus somebody who's clearing, I don't know, over $500 every time you're hustling out on a weekly basis, releasing all that stuff. And you answered, so I love it. That's perfect. And another thing that I mean, with the little goals, I mean, one thing my mom told me when I was a kid, she said, you'll never be a millionaire if you're only looking at becoming a millionaire. You need to make your money before you become anything. And one thing that I thought of instantly, as soon as you said it, was when you blow up a balloon, you're not going to blow up a balloon in one blow. It's going to take a couple steps.
Right.
You're not going to accomplish every single goal you have until you accomplish the ones you set out in order to accomplish those goals. True. Yes, we all want to go to work early. We all want to get promoted. We all want to be a famous producer. We all want to be a rapper or a MLB freaking star or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, to get there, there's these 100,000 steps you need to take that no one wants to remind you that you have to take them.
Yeah, that's literally the most important thing. It's ironic too, because I feel like in any kind of mentorship program, development program, they stress on all these different things you need to do, but they don't really, the specifics like you were mentioning, that's not really a highlight. And for me, that was just a learning experience on my own. Literally, you just have to get up and do these things. Without sacrifice, there's literally no reward. I know that's kind of a overused saying, but definitely true, because if you don't take risks, you don't sacrifice, you don't spend the time to do things, how can you expect to actually, get the results? My favorite sayings too, and I've said this before, insanity, literally the definition is expecting different results from the same approach. How can you expect to get these things if you're not changing anything about what you're doing in order to get it? So, yep.
I love it. I love it. I love when you say that, because it always makes me think. But I read this thing the other day, and it said, how could 99% of us become the 1% if we're all doing the exact opposite of what the 1% does?
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we all try to do what we think the next person to us is doing better than us, but that's not good enough. Yes, those are the stepping stones. You need to beat this person if you want to beat the person across the country you don't even know about that's 3 years younger than you, doing twice as good as you. But these are the stepping stones we need to make, just like boxers make their stepping stones in order to get their ballot fight. And whether they win or not, they get the opportunity, and publicity is good publicity no matter which. But before we kind of wrap things up, I did want to make sure I got a good understanding. I mean, how long have you been a up-and-coming producer going through music and kind of finding your way here?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been actually producing music for 8 years, but I didn't literally start taking it seriously as a business per se until March of last year. So about a year, a little over a year, I've been pursuing it as an actual business. So it's been a while, but it's something in the back of my head I just always knew I wanted to do, but it's just one of those things you just don't know how to do it. You don't know where to take the first step, and literally those are obviously valid things that everyone feels, but you just have to jump into it. Literally, that's what it comes down to.
I love it. That's what I like to hear. And just to wrap things up, I mean, I know I kind of asked already, but I mean, for anybody watching, I mean, what is the next step that you want them to take to allow themselves to accomplish the goals that you've allowed yourself to accomplish?
Yeah, man. I would say literally take a pen and a piece of paper. This is like so outdated with computers and everything, but if you literally take a pen and piece of paper, write down what you want to do and what your passion is, if you put that on paper, I think that's literally the first step to accomplishing things, because if you don't set out a plan to accomplish something, how can you expect to actually get it done?
I love that. And spontaneousness is wonderful. Obviously, we all do love the wonderful things that come into our lives, and we all hate the terrible things that come into our lives unexpected. But at the end of the day, I mean, you want the great things, you're going to have to make a plan. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get it done. Otherwise, you're just running around aimlessly trying to figure out the right path until you run into a tree.
I've been there too.
I mean, we all have. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, even the most successful people out there, they've made their mistakes. They've followed the wrong paths. They've took bad advice. They've gotten great advice. But at the end of the day, it's that drive to keep getting back up, to keep moving forward, and to keep putting more shit out, making sure that you're getting that feedback out in order to make sure that we're getting further and further to grow and allow us to make that success.
Yeah, man. Definitely appreciate you having me on, too.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Once again, this is Cash In with Cavaliere. That was a terrible handshake. We'll try that again here tomorrow. But thanks again, Matty Beats, and we'll play a little something for you guys before we go. Cool. Thanks again.